Hello everyone. If you are going to install or reinstall Windows 7 on your old PC, or if you want to dual boot Windows 10 with Windows 7, you'll probably need a Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive to do the installation. If you do, I'm going to show you how to create a Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive. To create a Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive conveniently, we'll need three things. First, you'll need a USB flash drive with a capacity of 8 GB or larger. Secondly, you'll need a Windows 7 disk image or ISO file. Since Microsoft has discontinued to support Windows 7, the Windows 7 ISO files are no longer available for download on the Microsoft software download page. But you can still download those files through direct links, which I have put on this video's description. And lastly, you need is a small program called Rufus, which is an open-source, standalone tool to create Windows bootable USB flash drive. I have also put the link to the official Rufus website on this video's description. Alright, let's get started. First, download the original Windows 7 ISO file from Microsoft's download site through one of the direct links that I've put on this video's description. You can choose between Ultimate, Professional or Home Premium Edition. If you are going to install Windows 7 on a PC with a 64-bit processor and UEFI boot firmware, you may download the 64-bit ISO file. Otherwise, you should get the 32-bit one. And as you might notice from the web address of the links, these ISO files are original ISO files from Microsoft that are still clean and have no product key. These ISO files also include the Service Pack 1 or SP1, so you don't need to download it again separately. As an example here, I'm going to download the 64-bit Ultimate Edition. While waiting for the ISO file download to complete, you can go to the Rufus website to download the application. On Rufus homepage, scroll down and look for the download section, and then click the latest version to download it. As of August 2022, the latest version is 3.20. Once you have downloaded the ISO file in Rufus, you are ready to create a Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive. So plug in your USB stick to your PC and wait until it's detected by the operating system. After that, double-click the Rufus file to run the program. This program is a standalone program, so you don't need to install it. If the User Account Control dialog appears on your screen, simply click Yes. On the Rufus window, we'll set the drive properties and format options of the bootable USB stick. First, under Device, select the USB stick you want to use as a bootable USB flash drive. Make sure that your USB stick does not contain any file that you still need, because it will be formatted and all the files in it will be wiped out. Then under Boot Selection, select Disk or ISO Image. After that, click Select, browse the Windows 7 ISO file you have downloaded, click that file, and then click Open on the Open File dialog. Under Image option, select Standard Windows Installation. And now this is the tricky part of creating Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive. Under Partition Scheme, you can choose between the traditional MBR and the more advanced GPT partition schemes, depending on the type of PC you're going to install Windows 7 on. Your choice here will also determine the partition scheme your Windows 7 PC will use later. As a simple guideline, if your PC is an old legacy BIOS-based system or you want to install the 32-bit Windows 7, you should choose MBR partition scheme. If your PC model is relatively recent and uses pure UEFI boot firmware without compatibility support module or CSM, I'm sorry to inform you that you may not be able to install Windows 7 on it. Although some people claim they managed to do it with a workaround, it may not always work for everyone, so I will exclude it from this tutorial. But if your PC has UEFI boot firmware with compatibility support module or CSM for legacy BIOS boot, you may choose either MBR or GPT. In this case, if Windows 7 will be the only operating system on that PC, and your disk drive is less than 2 TB, you can play it safe by choosing MBR partition scheme for your bootable USB flash drive. But if you want to get some benefits of UEFI over legacy BIOS, such as the ability to use the more advanced GPT partition scheme, or you want to dual boot your existing Windows 10 that uses GPT with Windows 7, you should choose GPT partition scheme. However, you may need to enable CSM on your UEFI settings to be able to boot your PC from the Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive. Otherwise, you may get an error like this during boot up from the bootable flash drive, which I and many other people have encountered before. For this tutorial, I'm going to select GPT partition scheme, because I'm going to use it to install Windows 7 on an Asus laptop that has UEFI with CSM. And then under Volume Label, enter a descriptive label for your bootable USB stick. Leave the file system setting NTFS, and select the default cluster size. Under Advanced Format Options, make sure you tick the Quick Format and Create Extended Label and Icon Files options. Alright, we are good to go, so click Start to create the Windows 7 bootable USB flash disk. This process may take about 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the speed of your PC and your USB stick. Once it's done, you can close Rufus by clicking the Close button, and then eject your USB flash disk properly. Your Windows 7 bootable USB stick is now ready to use. Now I'm gonna test it on my Asus laptop. So I plug in my Windows 7 bootable USB stick, and then press the power button, and then immediately press the escape key to show the boot menu. I select the Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive, and then press enter to boot my PC from the bootable USB stick. As you can see here, I get an error that I mentioned earlier. This is because I still disable the CSM on the UEFI settings. So, I will restart my laptop and enter the BIOS. I'll go to the boot section and enable Launch CSM to enable CSM for Legacy BIOS boot. Save the new settings, and then boot up from the bootable USB stick again. Alright, so that's how to create a Windows 7 bootable USB flash drive. I hope you find it useful, and feel free to leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next tutorial.